Hello everyone, the Anime Down here with another video. This time we will be looking at some anime from the summer anime season. As usual, I will exclude sequels from this list, and I will also try to cover a variety of genres. Before we start, if you enjoy our content, don't forget to subscribe. Thank you. So we start off with a series to avoid. Shoot is an anime original sequel of a manga with the same name that ended back in the mid-90s. The series had an anime back in the 90s that ran for a little over a year from 1993 to 1994. After that, the series was left without any animation for a while, but the manga did receive spin-offs and sequels in the following years after it ended. But now, over a decade later, we receive a new anime that is meant to serve as an anime original series in the world of Shoot that is centered around a different cast of characters. However, it does seem like characters from the original series do make an appearance, but as they are much older, it seems like they might be a mentor figure for the new cast. So why do I suggest this series should be avoided? After all, Shoot is not a bad sports series, and it was a really popular football manga series during the 90s. So it had the appeal to attract a large audience back then. Well, why I think this is not going to be great? It's not really anything to do with its story, since I do not expect this to be anything too bad and well, not really good to begin with in that aspect. What really dragged the series down is the poor animation. The studio handling it is EMT², which is not a bad studio, but definitely not a top one when it comes to the level of animation. But of course, the unimpressive staff working on it makes me cautious, especially as sports series need to look good to be popular. I might give this an episode, but that preview video looks really unimpressive, so I think it would be better to avoid this, at least to begin with. So next we have our first watch, RWBY or Ruby. Ruby might be a peculiar one to highlight. It started as an animation by a studio called Roster Teeth from the United States. They released Ruby episodes back starting in 2013 on YouTube, and it found a lot of fans across the world. The project was clearly inspired by anime, but it was 3D CGI, and because it was an indie project, the budget was quite limited, so it did not look particularly good. Over time, the popularity did mean it gained more budget, and even a platform to publish it, even though it is still present in YouTube for anyone to watch. It also expanded from simply the animation to comics and even manga, as it did manage to garner a small Japanese audience. So what is this series all about? It is a story that starts with students joining a magical academy, and in the midst of the pupils joining the academy, we have the main characters, who are eventually put into a group, and they name themselves Ruby, RWBY being the initials of the members in the team. I have watched the first 2 seasons of the initial series, and I found the characters reasonably likable, even if they do tap into a lot of character stereotypes present in Japanese series. It does manage to be reasonably fun, with us seeing the growing relationship between the group members and how they slowly get involved in a much bigger plot. So after explaining what Ruby is, the fact it's getting reanimated by Shaft is for me a very interesting development. After all, the first few seasons of Ruby are a struggle to get into because of the sheer cheapness of it, so a remake in full grade 2D animation is likely to expand its popularity in Japan, but also around the world. The preview shows that there is a reason to be excited for this, and seeing the staff working on it, it's no surprise. They're all really talented and experienced, so I do think this will be quite a good title to watch for anyone that likes really good animation and action, and enjoyable characters as well. So next we have another watch, in the form of Harren in the Labyrinth of Another World. Harren in the Labyrinth of Another World is one of the isekai I highlighted in one of my first videos as an isekai that people should be looking forward to. What I thought made this series promising was that it links more on the ecchi side of isekai. What might seem controversial, however, about the series is the complete acceptance of slavery by the main character, but that is not uncommon in isekai. However, what adds to this is how he looks towards female slaves, specifically because he has an interest in them as sex partners. It probably seems more controversial in the Western world, But in Japan, the publisher did drop slave from the title in the light novel version. So it's not a slave harem, but a normal harem, according to the title. Harem in the Netherworld plays into the Yi-Yin, lust of the mind element that I mentioned in my previous video. It is all about the main character fulfilling his desires in this other world. The popularity of Yi-Yin with audiences is shown by the sheer amount of views of the web novel and the sales of the manga and light novel in Japan. Harem in the Netherworld knows that, and it plays for the Yi-Yin element. It even enhances it by highlighting how the main character had a terrible life back in Earth. He does not desire to be a hero or anything like that, but to simply make enough money to live well with his harem of female slaves. In this other world, he's not transported as a hero however, but as a nobody that is lucky to have an unusual system for this kind of series that he uses to craft a position for himself in the world. So Harem in the Netherworld is a promising title, and the PV adds to my confidence that this will likely deliver for the audience that it is trying to appeal to. The series will be animated by Passion, a studio that has recently delivered series that were rather well received, like Mieru Go-chan. Looking at the staff in charge of the series, it is an alright cast, and since this series is most importantly about the cute slaves and the ecchi, it has to make that look good. And it seems the staff is experienced in doing just that. So it's a top title for anyone looking for some sort of kinky action with female slaves, I guess. Next we have another void. Black Summoner, the Berserker Rises to Greatness, is an isekai that is reasonably popular from the publisher Overlap. Its story follows Kelvin that finds himself in another world without any memory. Unlike many isekai, it borrows the setting from Japanese RPG and keeps the leveling system as well. What Black Summer offers story-wise is not too different from isekai of the past. However, in this specific season, does it offer more than other isekai like it? For example, Tensei Kenja no Isekai Life, a title that has some similarities to it. Looking at least at its preview video seems to have better animation. And since that series is so much more popular, that was not too surprising. It's just not the presence of Tensei Kenja in the season that will bring down the series. After all, isekai fans could easily watch the two if they want. But I think Black Summoner, judging from the preview video, does not look too good. And I think the element of Yi-Yin that isekai offers is presented in other isekai in a better form, like the previous one just shown. If you want harem, go for harem in another world, and so on. But I don't mean to bring down this series, but I just think isekai fans probably should look at the other isekai in the season first, before looking at this one. Next we have another watch, in the form of Yurei Deku. Yurei Deku is Science Saru's latest work. Science Saru has increasingly become a studio associated with a lot of interesting projects. Yurei Deku is one of these projects, and it's one of their latest original projects, but whilst before most of their original projects were films, this one is a television series. The series seems to follow a pair of girls that live in a place called Tom Sawyer's Island. Tom Sawyer's Island is a digitally controlled place, and the pair becomes entangled with a group of incredibly peculiar ghost detectives. In this group they learn of a mysterious figure that they attempt to seek out, and through that they end up stumbling into the secret behind the place they live. The synopsis and some of the PV leads us to think that, joined together, this highlights a somewhat bright comedic sci-fi series with some dystopian elements. For us, since this is an original project, there's limited information about how the story develops. So now we turn to the staff and preview videos. Directing the series is Tomohisa Shimoyama, a newbie director that has under Masaki Yusa previously directed White Shiro, a short animated series aimed at younger audiences. This is his first real directorship role, but he seems like a promising talent for the studio. Handling the story is Dai Sato and Masaki Yusa, but it seems Dai Sato is the one doing the series composition. Dai Sato has a lot of interesting works under his belt, so overall this has a great deal of good stuff and great people working for it. And I feel it's likely going to be one of the best received series among critical audiences because of its theming. So I'll definitely give this one a watch, and I think everyone should do as well. Next we move on to some notable mentions. First off we have Yofukashi no Yuta. Yofukashi no Yuta is one of the series I featured in my top series video from 2020 video not too long ago. I don't want to just repeat myself here, so I'm leaving it out in the notable mentions. But it is an interesting series that I believe is worth a watch. Now next, like Yofukashi no Yuta, I mentioned Isekai Oji-san in that video, so I will avoid repetition here by putting it in notable mentions as well. But it's a fun series that I will without a doubt watch though. So that was the video guys. Leave a comment with the series you are most excited for in summer. And don't forget to leave a like, subscribe and ring the bell on the way out. Thank you guys, catch you guys later.